How is our economy, environment, and culture integrated with the Northern Forest? Students and teachers at Telstar Middle School in Bethel, Maine participated in a variety of learning activities that focused on this essential question. This unit of study took place over the course of 2 days in June. The teachers who designed this unit put in many hours of hard work planning and preparing for the learning activities, which integrated different subject areas, relevant learning experiences, and allowed students to choose their own path of study. We interviewed the teachers who planned this unit to learn more about their process, their challenges, and their goals for these unique learning experiences.
A few teachers were wondering what we would do with this week of school when grades were closed. And Mr. McKechnie said, forest is very important to our area. A lot of us use wood for heating, and lots of our families work in the mills where they make furniture, or they sell firewood. And we thought, why not try to link what we learned in school to real life? The goals of the unit are for students to understand that our forest around us is very important for our livelihoods, for our economics, because we buy and sell from each other, and just using what we've learned in the classroom out in the real world.
The goals are to have fun for 2 days, B, to try these different activities that we wouldn't necessarily have at any other time during the year. And as far as the hikes and the Step Falls project, be able to go off go up and see where some trails are being built and do some work on trails that need work.
There were quite a few of us involved with planning the unit. Ms. Learned, Mr. McKechnie, Mr. Greenberg, and Ms. Grover and I all worked together to pull this off.
Ms. Learned was very nice to put together a really cool scavenger hunt, 2 scavenger hunts for us. Mr. Greenberg and his work with the Mahoosic Land Trust, who have been very helpful for us, and doing the work there. Mr. Greenberg set all that up.
The things that I want students to take away from these learning activities is to realize that learning is fun and active and engaging, even if you're not sitting in a classroom reading from a book or learning from a teacher directly, that you can actually take learning into your own hands and see what's going on around you in the world.
I would like students to take away from this learning activity an understanding of why they might have done the math or the learning in the classroom and how it relates to our environment around us. I'd also like them to appreciate our woods a little bit more. We kind of take them for granted. We always see them when we bike or ride or take the bus. But if we lived in New York City, we would miss our trees. Integrating subject matter is also very important. As a teacher, how many times have kids come to me and said, "What? We have to write in science?" Yes, you have to write in science, and you have to do math in science, and you do social studies in science. And right now, the kids are out and about, and they're doing the math, they're doing the science, they are speaking, they're sharing, they're doing the language arts. And they might also be doing some of the social studies, what is the history of the forest around our neighborhood.
Integrating subject matter is just a life skill, because every day you are integrating subject matter whether you realize it or not.
It's important for everyone, students, faculty, people in general, to understand that math is just not math in a classroom, that there's math out in the woods. The folks that are doing the numbers in the woods are working on tree dendrochronology. It's a specific area, tree ring growth. They're looking at how does a forester tell how many board feet there are in a tree. What kind of math goes into that? They have to do that right there. They can't come back inside and say, give me 3 hours to figure it out. They have to do that while they're in the woods. And
the biggest challenges in developing this unit was finding things people were comfortable to offer for sections. The other biggest challenge for me personally was giving the students their first, second, and third choice.
letting students choose their activities is important because it actually gives them ownership of what they're doing, and it creates a level of engagement that's hopefully higher than what you'd see if something was just thrown at a student.
If students get to choose from a list of things they want to do, I think they'll really get more out of it. They'll be more engaged, they'll want to learn more, they'll pay attention to the speaker. Giving choice to anybody is very valuable.
There were 10 different learning activities involved in this unit, and each student chose 3 in which to participate. TMS teachers selected activities to lead based on their interest and expertise. We all did our best to engage in this unit with an open mind and a growth mindset.
One of the activities for the Forestry Day was tree rings. The leaders of the activity were Miss Slattery, Miss Wesley, and a community volunteer, Al Cressy. The goals of this activity were to learn the relationship between weather conditions, the growing condition of trees, and how old a tree is. Students said that the activity was pretty cool and kind of interesting. They said that it was really hard to see the rings without a magnifying glass, and the activity might help you in the future if you are working with trees in jobs like logging.
Mrs. Grover was one of the people in charge of a group of students doing the scavenger hunt that we followed. She allowed us to ask her some questions like, describe the goals of this activity for the group members. She said for the students to show their skills for the forestry unit. Another question was to describe what the students asked to do in this activity. She answered with, they were given a list of 19 items, and they were given the task to find these things and take a picture of them. The last question was to the students in that group. We asked them to describe the results of the activity. Most answered with, we learned about the different types of trees and what was in the forest. One of the activities some students did was making tree plaques. Mrs. Wesley and Mrs. Marshall were the 2 main people that helped the most with this activity. The students in this group went outside and examined trees. They learned what types of trees were around the school and what their scientific or Latin name was. They also learned how to tell the trees apart from each other. After this was done, they went inside and painted tree plaques with both names on it. While waiting for their plaques to dry, they could make another one or hang out. Most of the students just hung around. When they were dry, they went back outside and had them sprayed. After they were sprayed with something that made them glossy and last longer, the students went out to find the type of tree they had put down on their plaques. After they found it, they would nail their plaques to the tree. Students said that it was hard to find their type of tree and that they would burn them if they could do it again. Some students thought this activity was very boring, but others thought it was very cool. Students in this activity learned more about the different types of trees and said that this activity could help them in the future if they became forest rangers.
Our group is working on tree identification. So this morning we started out in the island in front of school to see how many different trees we could identify. And the kids came up with about 10 different species. And we're very fortunate to have Mr. Churchill here today. He's a local person who lives up in Newry, sort of a tree expert. He's going to take us out in the woods. The kids all have a walking stick, and their job is to go out and find a tree that identifies with their walking stick and the type of leaves they have. And we're going to walk the cross-country ski trails up behind school and see how many different trees we can find in the next hour.
Kate and Rick Slattery were in charge of numbers in the woods. The students measured the height of a tree with just a measuring tape in the sun. This technique is called triangulation. The students also learned about BTUs, which wood has the most heat and how much. The students worked with math in the real world of the northern forest.
Students were asked to gather materials and use their surroundings in the woods to create their own fairy or troll houses. Miss Davis and Mrs. Davis were the teachers in charge of this group. They told the students they could use anything to create their houses as long as they stayed safe and had fun.
When asked what students learned or understood better as a result of this activity, the majority of this group responded with, we learned to use our resources and work together to succeed.
Mr. T.J. O'Connor, Mr. Cadigan, and Mr. Coolidge were the leaders and supervisors of the hike up Mount Will. When asked what the goals of this activity, Mr. O'Connor replied with, "Be safe and be active and have fun." Students hiked up the trail during a 2.5-hour block, and there were 3 sections of the hike. It was a very popular choice for students. The hike was relatively short, but very challenging.
What we're hoping to do is to put some new growth in an area that doesn't have any growth. So what we really want to have happen in the long run is for this area to return to a natural state. Right now it's very heavily impacted. So if we add some trees and we add some brush, it will start to return to a natural state. So one thing we need to do is discourage people from going in there, and what we're also doing is actually transplanting plants to it. Myself and Sarah Leifer, we do this for a living. We build trails and we repair trails for a living.
Another group was the website group. This group met all 3 sections, Monday morning, Monday afternoon, and Tuesday morning. The people in this group did not change at all. They stayed together at every meeting time as a team. The people in this group took lots of pictures and learned about each group. After they gathered some information, they put it on their website. This group's goal was to keep an active documentation of all the different activities and what the students at Telstar Middle School were learning. This was also made to show others some of the information students learned. You can visit their great website at www.tmsforestry.weebly.com. They definitely did some hard work to make this website as cool and informative as it is. And finally, there's us, the movie makers. We went around to each group talking to people, getting students' opinions, taking pictures, videotaping, interviewing people, and taking notes. After we visited a few groups, we would go back to room 228 and upload our videos and pictures. We used many different types of cameras and also a special machine to do the voiceovers, which you are hearing right now. Mrs. Prescott was our group teacher, the one who made everything run smoothly. She also brought in all the cameras we used. We all had a section of this video to edit and put together to make the final project. We broke up into 5 groups, with 2 or 3 people in each group. While being in this group, we also learned from and visited other groups. Monday morning, we learned all about iMovie, then broke off to do our interviews and visiting other groups. Monday afternoon, we visited groups for about an hour, then went off and started making this video. Finally, Tuesday morning, we put each section together, and this movie was created. Many of us really enjoyed this movie-making experience.
I had to do this again. What I would change is start much earlier and give people time and try to bring in a portable sawmill and actually take down a tree, mill it out, and wouldn't it be cool to make something for our school on it, with it. I am most proud of this unit that the whole school is working as a whole school. Grade 6th, 7th, and 8th teachers, grade 6th, 7th, and 8th students are all out there enjoying our woods and doing some learning. I'd like to thank everybody for being willing to just come in, jump in, and pull this off. I think everyone at Telstar Middle School is awesome!